right, good morning. This is Scott Young from Optrics Engineering, and with me I have Sean Sturby, our Technical Services Manager. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Scott.
And this is another edition of the Optrics Insider. Today we have three topics. Those include a print nightmare with a 0-day, SonicWall VPN appliances are under attack, and it looks like Kaseya VSA has an update, and I guess somebody's looking for 70 million from them. So I guess we will find out more about that. Let's talk about the print nightmare 0-day.
So this is an attack against Windows computers. So anybody who has a printer or a computer with a printer knows that they have to print using print drivers and the print spooler. Print nightmare is a 0-day privilege elevation attack. And basically, by creating a false print driver, when you go and say, oh, I need to print to XYZ printer, you get the false print driver, and that print driver has a way of taking over your computer, becoming a backdoor. So that's what that 0-day is all about. Now, Microsoft has come out with a patch for it and a series of remediations. Various different people are saying, yes, they've patched one half of the print nightmare privilege escalation, but not the remote command execution side of things. There's a registry edit that forces the computer to only allow administrators to install print drivers, but it really comes down to an architectural decision. People want things to happen quickly, and every computer chip has what's called ring 0 and ring 1. Ring 0 is where the core operating system runs, and all of the things that the people interact with should be running out at ring 1, 2, or 3, some other least privileged ring. Unfortunately, for performance reasons, an architectural decision was made years ago to bring more things into ring 0, the privileged, one of which was graphics drivers and another one which was printing. And the reason is that that transition between these two states, ring 0, ring 1, causes a slowdown. It actually is a performance hit. So to make things work as fast as possible, you want them to run as quickly as possible on the core of the processor, but for security, you want them to be separated. So while Microsoft has released a patch, and it looks like the patch is seasoned enough to this point where you definitely want to install it. And in fact, if you're in a US government agency, you must mitigate this by July 21st, which is just 2 days away from when we were recording this. The underlying problem as to why these kinds of things happen, unfortunately, will have to be fixed in a new version of Windows, if Microsoft makes that decision.
The obvious question is, how do these print drivers get on the computer in the first place? Is this something that's like a phishing attack type deal, or how do they get there?
Yeah, basically an email will come in saying, please update your print driver. You'll click on the link, it'll download and install the malicious thing, right? Oh, there's a critical vulnerability in your brother print driver. Please click here to update. And if you're just an end user, even if you've got no privileges, administrative level privileges, one of the things that you can do is install print drivers.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So
interesting. I guess the lesson here, some best practices off the top of my head would be, if you are running in a corporate environment, is like, if there's an update for your computer, let your IT department take care of it for you.
Correct.
I think there's lots of super helpful people out there who just want to make their IT person's life easier by helping out and running updates that you're not sure of, but maybe that's not such a great idea because you create more problems. Also, if you're looking at your own personal computer, I know one product that I personally use, I think that you recommended, was CCleaner. And I used the Pro edition because then it'll you can do health checks where it'll scan and clean up your computer, but it'll also update apps as well. Anything else off the top of your head when it comes to just updating your computer?
We'll talk more about this in the next topic, but yes, it's not just your computer, it's your computer and all the devices that are associated with it, printers, routers, everything else.
Right. And of course, if you are an IT person listening to this and you don't have a centralized way of updating all the computers that you're in charge of, the product we recommend, of course, is Desktop Central from Manage Engine, which is something that we both freely say that we sell quite a bit of it, and we also use it internally. And if you're interested in talking more about it, Sean Sturby right here is the guy who could talk to you about it. All right, this is a good segue into our second topic, which is SonicWall VPN appliances are under attack.
Correct. So SonicWall has actually received a urgent notice of a critical risk to unpatched end-of-life SonicWall remote access version 8X devices or appliances. So over the last year and a half or so with this COVID-19, we've definitely learned a lot more about how to work from home. We're both working from home right now ourselves. So, no, sorry, you're not. You just look like you are.
I know, I'm at the office. I was going to say.
It's hard to tell these days.
Yes.
So these remote access appliances, either VPN appliances or VPN portal appliances, secure remote access, they've all become much more important here over the last year and a half. And continuing on, a lot of companies are allowing people to at least partially work from home. So SonicWall is letting people know that this is a critical vulnerability that is under active attack. The people out there that are looking to get access to your private information so they can blackmail you have figured out that there is a security issue with the SonicWall secure access to appliances and are using them. So this is something that needs to be done now, and also highlights that as part of your security posture, since these are end-of-life devices, upgrades and or hardware replacement have to be factored into your ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, keeping everything updated is usually as we just talked about in the first one, certainly part and partial. And also, if it's end of life, it'd be a good idea to upgrade to the latest and greatest. And usually, your manufacturer has some incentive to do that.
The other point that was made by one of the people commenting on this was while the endpoint that you're reaching out to, the secure remote access device, definitely needs to be updated, it's also the home network that people are reaching out from that also needs to be updated. Now, a lot of people get their home router from their ISP, and ISPs are not known for keeping them up to date. They want them to work, so they find a reliable or a stable version of the firmware for those devices. And even if there is a bug or a problem with them, just let them run on that particular version until it's you demand. And it's not something that you as an end user can typically update. You can call into your ISP and ask if there's an update, but a good corporate environment should have some way of having a good, robust, supported, and up-to-date firewall that you can use at home. And I know we've various different vendors that we've worked with have a little miniature device that effectively bridges a home network onto the corporate network, making it an extension of that. That also has its own issues, but at the very least, you now have a device that's under IT control that IT can now make sure is up to date.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. How often do you log into your router from your ISP and make sure it's on the latest firmware update? But Yeah, there's lots of little form factor firewalls that different vendors, Fortinet, WatchGuard, SonicWall, I'm sure, have that they can handle. But that gets expensive too if you have a, a large employee base that you have to ship out these little hardware firewalls out to. But I understand why you do it though. Anything else on that?
That's everything.
Okay, let's finish off with the Kaseya VSA update.
So we talked about the Kaseya software and how ransomware player was able to use a 0-day bug in the Kaseya on-prem instance of their VSA software, which is used by managed service providers to manage the computers and the systems for all of their customers. So approximately 1,500, maybe a couple of thousand end customers were compromised, and their data was encrypted. So the ransomware vendor, call them a vendor, said that you could get a decryption key for an individual customer for so much, but if somebody was willing to step up to the plate and pay $70 million, they would give a universal decryptor that would decrypt everybody's data. They have since come back and said, we might go down to 50 million in negotiations or 40 million. But the second update is that Krebs on Security pointed out that Kaseya's customer portal, now this is a deprecated portal that Kaseya runs. So, you go and you log into this so that you can see, and this would be the ISP customers being able to manage their various different clients. There was a vulnerability revealed in 2015 that was in their software, and it was bad enough that they received a vulnerability update for that. They then went on to create a completely different portal that didn't have that vulnerability, but the takeaway is that they left the old customer portal up and running, even though it had a known vulnerability. So this was their own software, their own product. They knew that it was vulnerable. They fixed the vulnerability by going to a different portal that didn't have it, but for legacy reasons left the old portal up and running. Better solution would have been to take the old portal down and replace its web page with a redirect to the new portal.
So is that how this vulnerability happened then? Because they left the old one up?
No, it's not how the vulnerability, it's not the 0-day in their VSA software, the on-prem version. This was just once they were revealed to have a problem, the security researchers like Brian Krebs went and poked around and found that there was other issues as well.
Oh, so a double whammy at least.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one because managed service providers will use a tool like ConnectWise or Kaseya, or there's a few others, to manage usually small businesses, basically be the outsourced IT department. And therefore they use a common tool just to keep an eye on everything. But of course, if the software they're using to keep an eye on things gets hacked, as we saw, that creates a problem down the line, and it also looks terrible. And it's bad.
There's a multiplication effect, because if you as a managed service provider have a vulnerability and you get hacked, it's just one company. But if it's the software that you use to manage, or it leverages the software that you use to manage hundreds of customers, then hundreds of customers get hacked.
Well, yeah, because you usually use Kaseya or some of the others to remotely access all of the other.
To remote into them, to push out patches and updates, to make configuration changes. Basically anything that a local administrator could do, you can do remotely with these MSP platforms.
It's unfortunate because you have these managed service providers who are often small companies themselves who basically get their business torched because potentially because of the software they use, and Kaseya is a big name too. It's not a small thing. So all I can say is I feel it's unfortunate that this happened because it will have a lot of impact. Unfortunately, down the line with it, yeah, it's just bad.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
it reminds us of the SolarWinds issue,
yes.
where everybody using SolarWinds software of a certain version, also there was a 0-day in it. And they were able to send out a false update that then caused problems with the hundreds of thousands of computers again.
And as an aside, since we're talking about 0-day, I was watching Fate of the Furious last night in anticipation of watching the F9 or the latest Fast and Furious, and there lots of chase scenes, and it's a good movie. But one thing, to deter the people or the person that are being chased, or to help actually them escape, they exploited a 0-day on cars and vehicles. And so then basically they had all these autonomous driving vehicles chasing in downtown New York. And, you wonder, can that even happen? But of course, you had all these self-driving cars flying out of windows, and it was just insane. But damn you, 0 days, curses. Worth seeing if you haven't, and you like a good action movie. All right. To recap, we talked about the print nightmare 0-day with that print driver that Microsoft is sorting through. SonicWall VPN appliances are under attack, and Kaseya VSA had a vulnerability, and it sounds like $70 million is what the ransomware people are looking for. Yikes. Anything else you want to add, Sean?
No, that's it for this week.
Okay. Well, thank you as always for your insight and for letting us know what's going on in the IT world. As always, if you enjoyed today's video or podcast, depending on how you are consuming it, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave us a comment. We'd love to see, and we'll see what you think. Take care. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Bye.